Hi, everyone. I'm Dr. Michelle Pearce. I'm a professor in the graduate school and a clinical psychologist. And today I'm going to share with you 7 strategies to build your resilience and to prevent burnout for those of you who are online instructors. Now, burnout and screen fatigue and work-life balance, these are all issues before COVID, but they are certainly issues that we're contending with now. And so I want to present the tips and tools that I use myself as an online instructor and that I teach my clients. Some of these you might be doing already. Some of them may be new to you. So I encourage you to take those things that really resonate and run with them. So I'll start out by explaining what is burnout and why are we at risk for those of us who teach online. Then I'll talk about resilience and I'll provide a metaphor that I like for describing resilience. And then I'll provide these 7 strategies to help you build your resilience and to prevent burnout. Here's the stress response. So how many of you have felt this way during the last year, maybe the last week, maybe even today? When we're stressed, we do one of 3 things. We fight, flight, or freeze. So you might experience things like agitation, anger, irritation, or panic, worry, fear, or shut down, lack of energy, really detached. These are all symptoms of the stress response. And the stress response is anything that activates that physiological or neurological chemicals in our body that we have when we encounter a threat in our environment. Sometimes the threat is real, like COVID. Sometimes it's things that we make up in our brain that aren't really true. But what matters is that the stress response gets activated. And if it goes on for too long, that's when we call it being chronic stress. And this is when we're really at risk for mental and physical health problems. So we need to learn, how do I turn off the stress response and turn on the relaxation response? What puts us at risk of burnout when we're teaching online? Well, first, we're much more isolated. We have a lack of face-to-face community that people who teach in a regular classroom tend to have. There's also a heavy reliance on self-motivation and putting in place a structure for yourself. We're always on. We feel like we always have to be available. At least in the graduate school, our courses are really fast-paced. We've got 3 credits worth of information in 8 weeks' time, so a lot is happening quickly. Others might not understand how much or how hard you work. The perception of online learning is that it's easier. It takes less time than face-to-face teaching, and the research shows it's actually the opposite. It's challenging to evaluate how well we're doing when someone's not actually physically present in your classroom, and sometimes student feedback just isn't enough. There's a lack of movement because we're sitting in our chairs all day and we've got screen fatigue. And of course, in the last year, we've had COVID. So resilience is the opposite of burnout. Resilience is bouncing back from difficulties, is adapting well to adversity. And this is something that we can and should develop. There's no one way to develop resilience. There's really a multifaceted approach, and that's what I'll present today, many different ways to build resilience. And I'm also going to give you resources to dig in a little deeper for each of these strategies. But first, I'm going to offer you a metaphor of how to think about resilience. And I think about it as filling our cup. So burnout is the opposite. Burnout is I have emptied my cup and there is nothing left. Resilience is I'm filling my cup back up. So there's something for me and there's something for me to share with my students, with my colleagues, with my family, with my friends. So today, we're going to share with you 7 tips so that you can fill your cup back up. And the first one is to know your warning signs for when you're stressed, because you're not going to intervene unless you realize that you are stressed. So I had a client once and I asked her, how do you know that you're stressed? And she looked at me and she said, well, because I'm in the ER with a migraine. I paused and thought, gosh, like we have to figure out you're stressed long before you're in the ER with a migraine. So that's when I started teaching people to really recognize their warning signs. On the screen here, you can see that we've got physical warning signs, we've got behavioral warning signs, emotional warning signs, and mental warning signs. Now, the top part of each box are the primary stress symptoms. Those are the things you'll probably experience first when you're stressed. At the bottom, underneath the dotted line, this is your chronic stress response. So this means stress has been going on for a while, and now it's really impacting your mental and your physical health. So I encourage you, pause the video and spend a little time on the slide and figure out what are your warning signs, because that's when you know that's your red flag. I need to intervene. I need to do something. Next, move your body. Now, when you saw this, you probably thought I'm just going to talk about exercise. Maybe you groaned. Now, exercise is part of it, but I mean any way that we can move our body. So yes, maybe it's traditionally looking like running, weightlifting, going for a bike ride, but it could also be dancing in your kitchen, doing some yoga poses, doing some jumping jacks between your classes. So anything that gets your body moving helps to dispel the stress chemicals that start to build up in your body. So this is really good, not just for your physical body, but also for yourself, your mental health. I've given you some resources on the right-hand side of the screen. The first is a link to our gym at UMB. Then, since most of us are home right now, here's a link to some workout ideas that you can use at home. Yoga with Adrienne is a yoga instructor on YouTube that I really appreciate. She starts with very basic, like you've never done yoga before, gets you started. And then if you're thinking about different ways you want to move your body, I bet there's an app for that. So check out your app store and see what you can find. Third, take a breath and take a mental break. This is a very quick and effective way to activate the relaxation response simply by breathing. Now, when I was younger and I got stressed, my mom would say, Michelle, just take a few deep breaths. It used to really annoy me because it felt too simple. Then I got to grad school and I learned the science behind the stress response and the relaxation response. The fastest way to activate the relaxation response, or your parasympathetic nervous system, is to breathe deeply. Mom knew what she was talking about. So this might look like for you a formal meditation practice where you sit down and breathe for 10 or 20 minutes, or maybe just 1 minute. Anything is better than nothing. Or maybe it looks like just being simply more mindful, more present in your life. Or maybe it's taking a mental break by doing some guided imagery. There's lots of free guided imagery online, things like going to a peaceful place, imagine yourself on a beach and letting that just wave of relaxation move through your body. So I provided resources on how to be more mindful, how to meditate, some actual links to guided meditations and guided imagery. Fourth, challenge your thoughts and change your perspective. So if you want to be a resilient person, you cannot believe every thought you think. So we often think it's the event that causes us to be stressed or to feel a certain way. The truth is, as you see on the cognitive model on the screen, is that the situation happens and then we have thoughts about that situation. We have an interpretation. It's the interpretation that leads to the emotion, and then the emotion leads to behavior, what we actually do. So if you want to change how you're feeling, what you're doing, intervene at the level of thoughts. So 2 quick questions to ask yourself to change your thoughts is this thought true? If the thought isn't true, then you need to change it. If it is true, ask yourself, is having this thought helpful? Most often thinking that thought is not helpful. So change it, and then you change how you're feeling, and then you change what you're doing. The second thought is to change your perspective. So when difficult things happen, adverse experiences, trauma, just stressful days, our perception changes what we think, but also the options that we have available, how we feel, whether we feel hope or despair. So we can change our perspective to become more resilient. And I call the concept of post-traumatic growth, that's we go through difficult things and we actually become better as a result. I call post-traumatic stress or post-traumatic growth blooming in the dark. And I wrote a book about that last year called Night Bloomers, 12 Principles for Thriving in Adversity. And this simply is saying to you, when we go through difficult and dark situations, we can actually end up better in our lives and better people as a result, not in spite of, but because of going through those things. And that's a really hopeful perspective. So I would encourage you that when you're going through difficult times, to consider the possibility that there might be growth. There might be some good things at the very end of this that are waiting for you. And that can lift our spirits and open up options and possibilities for us that we didn't have or we didn't see before. So here are some resources for you if you want to learn about how to challenge your thoughts, or you want to learn more about this idea of blooming in the dark. Here's a free article that you can access. 5, protect and prioritize your personal time, because as you've learned, no one else is going to do this for you. This is especially important for those of us who teach online, because it just feels like you're supposed to be available all the time. And the truth is, we don't have to be. We have to decide what's reasonable for us and then set those limits and communicate those limits or those boundaries to other people. So that might be being very clear in your syllabus. Here's when I'll be available. Here's when I'm not available. Here's how long it will take me to get back to you. Communicating this to your colleagues or supervisor. Here's when I'm available to respond to your emails, but maybe after 7 p.m. on weekdays, I'm not online anymore. Maybe I'm not online on Sundays. So again, figuring out what works for you, setting that boundary and communicating that boundary. And here are some articles that will help you figure out how to set those boundaries that will really work for you. 6, connect with other people. One of the strongest and most reliable associations in the social science research is the association between social support and better mental and physical health. Bottom line, the more connected we are, the happier and healthier and less stressed that we are. So teaching online, it can be a really isolating experience, especially this past year. One of the things that I've done to develop sort of this connection between all of us is to create the online teaching community here at UMB. We meet monthly for an hour and we just share. Here's what's going well. Here's what's not going well. We ask questions. We provide resources. As speakers come in to teach us different strategies that we can use in our online classrooms. So if you want to join us, please just send me an email. I'll be happy to sign you up for that and you can join our community. Another one, if you just wanted to meet friends, increase your personal network, is meetup.com. This is how I met most of my friends when I moved to Maryland, and it's something that many of my clients use as well. So you can search by any category. Maybe you're searching by your age or interests. Maybe you're searching, I teach online, or I like to hike, and you'll find other people who have that interest. And then they send you events that are going on. You can either sign up or not. So I would encourage you to check that out. And finally, know your limits and ask for help. Part of cultivating resilience is knowing when you've reached your limits and ask for help. And there's many different kinds of limits that we can reach. One of those is mental health. So if you're feeling stressed or down or really anxious, we've got the UMB Employee Assistance Program. That's free therapy. Most of it is online at this point. It's confidential. So if you want to access that, that's available for you. Sometimes you just want help with your professional goals. So I developed the Professional Development Coaching Program for UMB faculty. So this is, you want to work on work-life balance, or I want to publish more, I just want to be more organized. Just email me, sign up on the website, and I'll join you with a coach, and that coach will provide confidential sessions with you to help you reach your professional goals. Here at the Faculty Center for Teaching and Learning, we provide free consultations. So if you have questions about how to teach online or different technologies, or maybe course development, just reach out to us and we'd be happy to meet with you. And finally, if these sort of wellness, resilience tips resonate for you, you might be interested in participating in the Integrative Health and Wellness Certificate Program. I'm the program director. It's a 9-month program. Your tuition benefits cover this. So if you're interested, check out the website and email me directly. I'd be happy to share with you. So thank you so much for joining today. I hope these 7 tips for building your resilience, filling your cups, were helpful. This is a video, so of course you can go back and watch again and really find the tips that resonate for you. And I've also provided some ways to reach me. And I just want to end by thanking you. So much of what we do online is unseen and unrecognized. So I just want to take a moment to acknowledge all of your efforts and all of your hard work. So let's be mindful about filling our cups this year and be diligent about filling them regularly. Thank you for taking the time to join me today.